So the objective of our work plan meeting is to lead the way through the buying process all the way to the close. A lot of times in my early years, just because I would present a proposal to somebody, I would be like, my work is done. I basically, I've sold them on the solution, I've delivered a proposal, and now it's up to them of whether or not they want to move forward. And of course it's up to them. Of course it's always up to the customer. I mean, this is a market economy. They can choose to move forward with you, or they can choose not to move forward with you. But what you don't want to do is allow your sales process to all of a sudden stop. You want to guide them through the entire buying process. You've had this really beautiful set of interactions with your prospective customer. And at this point, you're not giving them, you're not letting it up to chance of like, okay, now all of a sudden you went from guiding them through the entire process and now it's just up to them to go off and figure out when they want to get back to you. It's not really what the interaction model is all about. The interaction model is all about having a very strict process that you take people through in order for you not to waste time and to take the emotion out of selling. And so, this step, the work plan and the kickoff meeting, is so that you're guiding somebody all the way through the close. The close really happens kind of in between the proposal presentation and the work plan meeting. But what you're doing is you're picking the point on the other side of the close. And you're basically saying, I'm going to present my proposal and then we're going to get a close and we're going to land on the work plan meeting, instead of saying, I'm going to deliver a proposal, wait for the close, and then we'll decide what we're doing next. So you don't want to do that. You want to go ahead and plan for this next interaction, whether or not something actually ends up closing or not. So you're giving somebody that blueprint all the way through to the kickoff meeting. And you're saying, we're going to schedule that next interaction. If you're ready to move forward, we're going to schedule that kickoff right now. And so, that's the primary objective of this meeting. So in the work plan meeting, it consists of a kickoff. So a project kickoff is really where you transition from sales mode to production mode. So you've been selling a customer, figuring out what's going on with their project, all this kind of stuff. They say, I want to move forward, and boom. This went from an opportunity, something that's a fuzzy idea sitting out there in space, to we're ready to dig in and start moving forward on a project. We're ready to start production. So this meeting, this work plan meeting, is the transition. And a lot of times what I'd do way back in the day is when I would get a signed agreement, I would just hand it over to my production team and be like, here you go, it's your project now, right? You've got this project to work on, right? But this meeting is the transition point. You're planning for the transition from selling a potential project to now I have a real project. So that's what this meeting is all about. It's the pivot from the possibility to the real. The next thing that this meeting is all about is bringing in resources and stakeholders. So resources are really on your side. Are you the only one that's going to be producing the project, or do you have some additional subcontractors? Do you have a copywriter? Do you have a designer? Do you have a coder? I usually recommend to bring everybody into the project that's going to potentially work on the project in this meeting, because then everybody has a chance to kind of get to know each other. You don't have a random person showing up in week number 6 that has never been properly introduced, and so it gets everybody on the same page. And when I get into the agenda, we'll kind of review what actually you'll be doing in the meeting, but it allows everybody, both your resources, and then also you want to be thinking about their stakeholders. So if it's just the business owner that you're going to be interfacing with, then that's fine. But oftentimes there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people on the customer's side that might be interacting with your project, and you want them all to participate in the work plan and in the kickoff meeting. So, again, this is where the project goes from opportunity to real project, and at this point you kind of have the go-ahead to bring everybody into the project and have them participate in this meeting. There's also 3 key aspects that you want to bring to the table with your resources and your stakeholders. First of all is name. You want to make sure that you have all the names of your stakeholders ahead of time and prepared for this meeting. In addition to name, you want to have their position, their actual title. So you want to make sure that you can properly introduce everybody. And then you're going to have their responsibility. What's their role in the project? A lot of times what you want to do is actually have this information to the point that you can put it in some kind of document that everybody can look at and everybody knows, so that while you're working through a project, when you're talking about content, for instance, if there's a specific person on your side that's your content writer and they're responsible for working with the customer to write your content, and then on the business owner side, they have, let's say, a marketing assistant that is responsible for collecting all of the content and preparing all of the initial drafts to go to the content writer. That's where this responsibility position is really important. So you'll want to have that really well defined prior to the meeting and make sure that you have that information ready. You'll also want to schedule your deliverables in this meeting. So now, part of my proposal, I did say that you're going to include time frame and overall time commitment in your project. But see, until a project really becomes real, until you have a check in your hand, it's very difficult to schedule. I would almost always say, never schedule work until you have a signed contract. You can give somebody an idea of duration. I can tell you that this is going to be a 12-week project, but it's not 12 weeks from today. It's 12 weeks from when you decide to start the project. And even then, there potentially is some variable, because if a big project signs the day before you sign, then your 12-week project might be a 13 or 14-week project. So you have to be able to, set those expectations with your customer. But one of your pitches for the work plan and for why you're really excited to get into the work plan is because you're going to be ready to now schedule your deliverables. You're going to be ready to sit down, look at everybody's calendar, figure out who's going on vacation and when and all that kind of stuff. And you're going to be able to actually say, this 12 weeks that we talked about in the proposal process, here we're looking at the calendar and it's going to be 8 weeks, or it's going to be 14 weeks because you guys took an extra month to get back to us and we got a lot of projects now. So, this is kind of I don't want to call it a fun part of the kickoff meeting, but you're actually going to take these ideas you've talked about in a proposal, and you're going to be able to put them into specific project terms to say, we're going to deliver X on Y date. And one thing to keep in note when you're talking about scheduling your deliverables is you'll want to go ahead and schedule out your big deliverables for the duration of the project. You're going to want to say, in 4 weeks we're going to deliver design comps, in 8 weeks we're going to have a draft of the site ready, in 12 weeks we're going to be ready to go live. So you want to schedule out your general major milestones, but you're not going to want to schedule out like day to day for the next 8 weeks exactly what everybody's going to be doing every day. Usually what I like to do in the kickoff meeting is maybe plan 2 weeks out. So you've provided an entire schedule for the major deliverables, but then a specific schedule for the next couple weeks. So you don't want to do overkill on the specific schedule piece, but you do want to show them, that you're committing to the next couple of weeks, and here's some of the specific things that are going to go on, and then here's what's going to happen for the duration of the project. And last part of this meeting is going to be introduce surveys. So if you don't currently use surveys in your projects, I highly recommend you do that. I highly recommend you come up with some basic customer surveys, some client surveys, some design surveys. Basically every deliverable that you're going to produce, it's a really good idea to have this survey that you can email across to all of your stakeholders to make sure you get everybody's input up front. And so in this meeting, this is where you like to introduce those surveys. You want to get them into your customer's hand as fast as possible to make sure that your project kickoff is going to go really smoothly. So make sure that if you plan on using surveys, that you're going to include those in the work plan meeting, and that's a really a nice thing to present to your customer to say, hey, we need you guys to fill out these surveys in order for our whole team to be able to know what exactly we're going to be producing or what your initial feedback is about the business. And it gives somebody an opportunity to kind of provide some additional value to you. And so you'll want to include those in this initial work plan meeting.